For Labor Day weekend, we had an exciting trip planned to Havre de Grace in Maryland, which is located right at the end of the Susquehanna River where it enters the Chesapeake Bay. We got this great campsite at Susquehanna State Park, and it was just a short drive into the historic town. There's a lighthouse and a waterfront promenade. There's a lot of history and old buildings with a walking tour and enough restaurants and bakeries to keep us busy for quite a while. So we were really excited about this trip. But this is the video that almost didn't happen.
So don't let the weight of the world slow you down. And if you search for the meaning of life, it won't be found. So take your insecurities and leave them all behind. Let's learn to make the most of our time.
We were originally not going to do a video this weekend just because I was in such a bad mood yesterday, and really it's all my own fault. We were all set to get ready to go on our Labor Day weekend trip. Super excited that I had a 3-day weekend. I got out of work on Friday early, which is very unusual, and I was just so excited to get on the road, especially because Redford was going to come on this trip with us. And as we were getting ready to leave, Pat said, "Oh, don't forget to grab the folder with Redford's paperwork in it because you need his immunization records and his dog license." And I went up into the loft to grab the folder where it always is, and it wasn't there. And I was like, okay, like where did we leave it? So we started looking in every possible place. And if you know our house, it's not that big, so there's not that many places that anything could go. And we're pretty organized. So we literally spent 2 hours pulling everything apart in the house. The house is a wreck right now. I think we moved every object that we owned to make sure it wasn't under something or between things, or we could not find that folder anywhere. And we both knew that that meant we couldn't bring the dog. So he was so excited to go, and I was so looking forward to it because our last trip got canceled when we were supposed to take him to High Point because of a big storm that went through there that weekend. So he literally hasn't been camping all summer, and I feel so bad. But we got here yesterday. The campground is really nice, and I told Pat I was so upset. I was like, I'm not going to make a video this weekend. But as we've been walking around Havre de Grace, people have been so friendly, and it's so cute. I was like, okay, fine. I'm going to get the camera, and we'll make a video. So this is the video that almost didn't happen. Our very first stop when we got into town was this bakery that makes authentic French macarons. And this was our first time ever having them. They were absolutely delightful, and the owner was so friendly. Just check the hours because they do have limited hours. It's very worth stopping in there to try those macarons. Then we went and explored some of the town on the Lafayette Trail. And this is a self-guided walking tour that takes you past a lot of the historic buildings and major landmarks. It's about 3 miles if you walk the entire loop, and it gives you a great experience of the whole downtown historic district. We made our way through the town, walking toward the Lighthouse and the waterfront promenade. The Concord Point Lighthouse is 36 feet tall, and it marks the spot where the Susquehanna River flows into the Chesapeake Bay. It helps with navigational traffic, and it was built in 1827, making it the oldest accessible lighthouse in Maryland. As we continued walking along the promenade, we came to some signs that talk about the history of Havre de Grace and the involvement in the Revolutionary War and the War of 1812. There are some historic buildings that survive from that early period, and there's also some information about Havre de Grace's connection to the water. This is the Decoy Museum, which is rather famous around here, and then you have the Maritime Museum. But we were on a mission to find something else. What, from like the town?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I was expecting smaller.
It was called Magic Ice Cream. It disappeared.
This ice cream at Amboy's was our favorite ice cream that we had the entire year, and we still talk about it, especially this color-changing spoon. When we stopped by the visitor center earlier that morning, the woman there told us that we should make sure we stop at the Washington Street Bookstore. And I'm so glad that she told us that, because this is a bookstore unlike any other that I've been in. It has lots of books, which is just so nice to see at this time. There's still old-fashioned bookstores, but the really unique thing is their collection of costumes from movies, and these are costumes from big movies that we've all seen. It was so fun to walk around and to see all of these props and their amazing collection. Then we headed back to the campsite, and we wanted to do a little bit of exploring at the campground, because this was a very nice campground with a little bit of history to itself. Back in Susquehanna State Park, we followed Rock Run Road down to the edge of the Susquehanna River, and this is where the historic site is. There's a grist mill that was built in 1798 and restored in the 1960s to preserve it. There's also the Rock Run Mansion, which is a 14-room stone mansion that was constructed by one of the previous owners. At this point, we were getting a little tired, so we decided to pick up some firewood, which was a self-serve station at the check-in at the front of the campground. And then we went back to our campsite. And one of the things that we really enjoyed about the campsites here is that some of them, like the one that we got, are tucked back into the trees. So you actually get a lot of privacy when you're on the inside of the loop. You also have your own private little trail at the back of your campsite that goes up to the bathhouse and the bathrooms. Do you want to take the secret path?
I guess so.
Since we didn't get to do any hiking today, this was a good substitute because a little bit of the path was overgrown, but it was still a nice way to get up toward the bath area.
Funny, at nighttime houses are like harder to find.
Oh yeah. Well, because I got up here and I saw like the bathrooms were actually up here. Stuck. Jeez. Yeah. As I was climbing over the brush, I saw something that I definitely did not want to see.
Is it dead?
All summer we had been seeing signs about the spotted lanternfly, and this was the first time I actually saw one in person. And I stepped on it to kill it, which is what you're supposed to do, and I talked to the ranger, and they already knew that the spotted lanternfly was in the area. This is a very invasive species. I went into the bathhouse, and it was pretty nice. Good showers, good water pressure, and most importantly, it was warm. We're pretty happy with our campsite here. I think it's one of the most secluded campsites that we've had in really a long time. We're kind of tucked back here with a lot of greenery around us, so we really can't even see our neighbors next to us. And last night there was nobody across from us, so it was very quiet here last night, like really, really quiet. Now we have a neighbor across from us, so not quite as quiet, but still pretty good. And it is neat that they have these little paths at the back of each campsite, because it is just a big circle and the bathroom's in the middle. So you can go up through here to get to the bathroom. It's a little bit overgrown, but not bad. And just a few days ago, Hurricane Ida, or Tropical Storm Ida, kind of passed over this area. So you can see there's a lot of areas that were just washed out. There's a lot of gravel on the roads. There's even some spots where the water is still kind of running over the road. Pat just went to bring back the crates for getting firewood. When you go to the little check-in station, they just have these crates and a big pile of wood, and it's on the honor system. You just fill it up with wood. You put $5 in the honor box, which is great because you don't have to scramble and do it when the ranger station is open. So we got wood and we're getting ready to have a fire. Thanks for joining us on this trip. Make sure that you are subscribed so that you don't miss out on part 2 of our weekend in Havre de Grace.
Well, you worried about you and me, the injustice, the next president to be, the news and what you hear, your career. It's time for you to face those fears, and it's all fair to be aware, and I'll be there, so don't be scared. Just take a deep breath of air, and 1, 2, 3 to 10, you begin to focus again, and though time flies, we'll have enough to realize this bigger than the both of us.